All right, hello football fans, NFL fans, Birds fans. What is it? It's week five. And my Birds are going out to Pittsburgh to play the Pittsburgh Steelers, the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers, in their stadium. What is it, Heinz Field? Whatever. We'll jump right into it. I'm only a couple hours from the game. Partially, it's like my work schedule. The other part is I actually kind of like doing this right before the game videos because I get to see and really study up on everything, not just make a generic video. I watch every one of Pittsburgh's games. I rewatched all of our games, and I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm going to go 2 weeks in a row right now talking about my Eagles' upset victory. I'm going to give you like 5 minutes exactly why I believe this, and I'm going to give you a spread. Last week, I was really close. I said the Birds were going to win by 3. We won by 5. I almost got the exact score. I didn't do a post game because, you know what, I just didn't feel like it. I think my preview game plan proved itself, and I even talked about the turnovers our defense was going to get, and that's exactly what happened. So I'm just going to tell you exactly my thought process on why my Birds are going to win by 7 today. Yeah, you heard it. And I'm going to tell you why. It's always fun to do it before the game happens. Once again, if it doesn't happen, it blows in my face. I know everybody's going to say all sorts of stuff. But if it does happen, actually, people get kind of quiet. It's kind of funny to me. So whatever. My Birds are going to win by 7. I'm going to tell you some of the reasons why. It comes from my Birds side and from Pittsburgh side. Same reasons, I think, the reason why we beat San Fran. One of the reasons why when I looked at the San Fran game, first off, I looked at where San Fran was coming from. You know, they didn't have their starting quarterback and were dealing with some injuries, but yeah, people are coming back. Kittle, obviously, he torched us as I expect for him coming back, but they just didn't have enough. Now, they're riding high initially, what that guy Mullins did the week before, but then what happens is teams study and they catch up, and there's a reason why there's a lot of people that are backups. Now, that's going to be applicable to my Eagles, but I'm going to tell you why we get over it. Looking at San Fran's schedule, who are the people that they beat to be 2-1 at the time? They beat the Jets and the Giants. And if I remember correctly, they had a hard time against the Giants until later in that game. So it wasn't like it was something. It looks like on paper it's a blowout, but you got to look at more than just that. You got to look at how the flow goes. And then once something gets out of control, it gets out of control. But they struggled with those teams, so they're kind of like a fake. I don't want to say fake because they won the games, right? A win is a win, but they weren't like that strong team. Also, they didn't have all their players. Like Jimmy G wasn't even playing, so I looked at that. It's like I'm not looking at that much of a threat, but also like the traveling that they have and the false confidence that's in their head. And I think we're going to run into a lot of that with Pittsburgh today. Now, I think Pittsburgh defense is really, really good, but Pittsburgh has a hard time in the beginning of games. I've watched all their games this year. Like, I went back and rewatched them. The reason why this video is coming out at the last second anyway. Because I took the time and they struggled. Now, look at their 3 wins. Look at Pittsburgh's 3 wins. They're still wins, so I'm not like taking anything away from them. They're still 3-0 right now, right? But they beat Houston, they beat the Giants, and they beat, who else? Denver, right? With those 3 teams, only one team has a win, right? So their victories aren't some crazy. And then if you look at the games, they were to a hard-fought games. Like, there's some games they could have like lost, you know. And against the Giants, like they got some turnovers in the end zone. Like, the Giants were looking to score, or the Giants had a hard time punching it in. So, like, that score either was supposed to be a whole lot closer, or the Giants could have won that game. I mean, Houston could have won that game. Denver could have won it. So yes, they're 3-0. Now their defense starts flying around, but also you got to look at when you're up in a game or you're playing with a certain kind of confidence, then your defense starts flying around. Now Pittsburgh always flies on the ball. It's really expected. They're going to be pulling at the ball all the time, and it's going to be expected that they're coming after the quarterback. Like, they're not shy about it. So I think that plays in our favor in some ways, depending on if we are creative enough. And I think they're slow enough in the game. I'm going to even call that we're going to be up pretty big in the first half. I feel like that because of how their games have gone. And then I think they're going to make their way back, and it's going to get pretty close. But then we're going to do something that's going to solidify like a 31-24 victory. That's what I'm calling it, 31-24. I think we get creative today, and we don't let our foot off the gas because we know it can happen. We get up big in the first half, and then we try to kind of cruise, and then it like blows up in our face, and then we put it away. And I think Wentz has a kind of day that we all wish he would have all the games. I mean, I remember last time we played against Pittsburgh, and he torched him pretty good with Sproles. So I think he can make some plays with his feet. He feels a little pressure coming from Hurts, which is going to be kind of good. I think his offensive line is feeling pretty confident after their display against San Fran. You have these young guys, right, that have to come in now. They have to. There's no other choice. And it feels like the end of last year. The end of last year when you had like Greg Ward doing all sorts of stuff. And I think he's an actual good wide receiver regardless if nobody's there or not. I think he's a great, slot receiver or so for us in the situation that we're in. And then you get these other guys that, like, Carson Wentz has no choice, but so he has to pass the ball. But what you're finding out is, even on your offensive lineman, my ladder is playing, like, these guys have talent. Yeah, sure, he's not the name Jason Peters, and not the name Lane Johnson, all that stuff like that. But people are going to find a way to step up, and if you find a way to utilize the pieces that you have to use, like, that's the thing that I feel about my Eagles, that we're utilizing pieces that we have to use, so we make do with it. And I think we're going to get pretty confident for this game. I think we're going to be up for it. I think Wentz is going to be up for it. And I'm wondering which Wentz. I think in the beginning of the game, Wentz is going to be the Wentz that we want him to be all the time. He's going to get the ball out of his hands really fast. He's going to make smart, quick decisions. And he's going to be extremely accurate. Now, if he maintains that the entire game is the question, because the Steelers love turnovers. Like, they get turnovers all the time. And he's got to be really, really smart with the ball today. There's no other choice. You can't have a really crappy, 2-turnover, 3-turnover game and pull out this victory. He's got to be very precise. It can't be bouncing all over the place. And I think that's something that they're thinking about, ball security. And I looked at last week, too, and we didn't run Miles Sanders that much. So I think today is a perfect example of he's on his A game, like zinging it in there and making like really concise, hopefully very not predictable screen game kind of thing where I want them to be passing down the field. I think you got to keep a running back in the backfield, do delayed handoffs that slow down that pass rush, and Miles Sanders can burn them. And Miles Sanders and like Boston Scott and Corey Clement, I think those guys can burn the defense, but it's got to be really mixed up. And I want to see a healthy dose of Hurts in there, especially on short yardage stuff. But I think you just throw them in there almost like tight end-ish, because you have Ertz and Rodgers, and whoever knows what's going on with Goddard is going to be able to play or stay in. So I really think the first half, I feel it. I think first half we go up, and then that's kind of like the narrative in the NFL. Like, everybody's going to pick Pittsburgh again, but people are going to be like, is Philly really coming on? Or they beat up on a 49ers team that had bad leadership with Mullins, and they switched quarterbacks too late. And I think it's easy to say we put the NFL on notice. No, I think we kind of expose San Fran and Pittsburgh, saying, hey, like, you haven't played anybody hard yet. I'm not saying we're the hard team yet, but we're gonna check you. And we're also forced to just focus on Pittsburgh because we got Baltimore next week that it looks horrible coming up. So we have to focus on Pittsburgh. That's the only thing we can control right now. All that being said, and I still want to see Greg Ward pass the ball. I still want to see something where we think we're being cute and throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage and they're being aggressive, and then next thing you know, Greg Ward is chucking it, and they don't see that coming because we haven't done it yet this season. So I'm calling it straight up 31-24 Philly, because also I see that Pittsburgh can throw up points. They throw up to like 28, 26 or so. I think we get after Ben. I think he fumbles it. He's really smart with the ball. he chucks that stuff up. We got to really master his blitz. Singleton, I think he's going to be playing with a lot of confidence. I think he's going to be starting to replace Nate Gary, which is the huge liability. Ebron, if you're a fantasy person, yeah, go whatever tight end is playing the Eagles defense, and Ebron's playing against us. So just look for Ebron to have like 700 yards today and 5,000 touchdowns, whatever. No, he's going to have some yards, but I think for whatever reason, Singleton is playing with a lot of confidence, a lot of hair too, looks like a rock star. And I think our defense is like starts to wake the heck up. And our defense is going to kind of look like the old defense where we're getting after the quarterback. Ben's not a mobile quarterback, so we don't have to deal with it this week. Like I said, we're going to have to deal with it next week, so we've got to focus on this week. Get after Ben, get some blitzes. He's going to chuck the ball up there. And then Wentz can't hold on to the ball because that defense comes after you, so I think he's going to be decisive, especially first half. We'll see if we can keep the pedal to the metal second half and get us a win, 31-24. That's all I got. I'm going to post this thing up. We're going to see what's going on. Give me your comments. I'm going to post it before the game so you know that this happened even before the game. Even have your comments in the middle of the game. I could care less, do your thing. I got my favorites down there. LT, I'm going to keep on calling the straight. Shout out to you. Shout out to my man Kong. Desert Eagle. Shout out to my man Jake. All right, let's go Birds. Let's do it. I'm getting a little more hype. I'm keeping it under control. I think we got it today. 7 points. That's what I'm going to call it. 7 points. Go Birds.